Hi everyone, welcome to my greenhouse. I built this greenhouse myself. It's a really cool little winter garden. Most of it is basically put together from leftover planks and so on. The polycarbonate you see here had to be bought. That was by far the most expensive part of this little greenhouse. It's about 1.5 meters wide and roughly 3 meters long, so it's not a huge space, but it's a smart little house. Let me show you what it can do. The heating works in the following way. Let me show you how it functions. Here you can see a thermometer, which is currently showing a temperature of 14.4 degrees. This means that in these pipes right here, the thermometer is attached. Let me show you. It's placed right here. Sorry, it's a bit messy in this area. So here is the temperature sensor, and it shows that the water in the pipe is about 14.4 degrees. Maybe a little more, obviously, because it's not actually in the water. The piping comes down here, continues over there, and that's where the 5-layer pipe is, the heating radiator for the interior space. Underneath it, there's a small pump. The pipes are red because they contain antifreeze. So what does this do? Our sewage system in the apartment is set up in such a way that, unfortunately, because the plot is very steep, we had to install a sewage lifting station. And into this sewage lifting station flows, of course, the bath water, the water from the kitchen sink, the washing machine water, etc. So the hot water, and also the water from the toilet. And when it all collects there, about 300 liters accumulate every day. When it's full, a pump pumps this sewage into the sewer system. What I did was, in this sewage storage tank, which temporarily stores the sewage every day, I put in a coil made from this 5-layer pipe, like the one you can see here, and basically I extract the heat from it. So the heat exchanger I made from the 5-layer pipe inside the sewage tank. So I pump the heat into this radiator. There are 320 millimeter fans at the bottom of the radiator, and these fans heat the small house by blowing the warm air, since the radiator obviously heats up. The radiator itself reaches about 15 degrees usually. Right now it's about 14 degrees, and with this waste heat, I am able to heat this little house. Here, you can see what else is inside. I've put in a hose with a spray nozzle, which you can basically start with the push of a button from here. And if I turn it on, the result is that I can water inside here. This is where the water comes in for watering, by the way. And then, in these crates, I can, during the winter months, grow plants. These are very healthy to eat in the winter. It also feels great to eat your own produce. For the heating system, I needed an expansion tank. When not in use, it's the kind used in cars, I made it from a 5-liter gasoline canister. It contains antifreeze. The reason for the antifreeze is that in certain sections, even with insulation, the pipe runs through the air. If, for example, the pump stops, despite the insulation, the tap water would freeze. So I put in ethylene glycol, which is the same antifreeze used in cars. To sum up, the heating of this little house works like this, with 3 fans attached to it. And through these white 5-layer pipes, the heat extracted from the sewage lifting station comes in, and I only put cold water into the sewer system. This little house doesn't just need heat, it also needs fresh air. The fresh air comes in through this 110 millimeter PVC pipe. You can see it here. And behind it, there's a fan here that pushes the fresh air inside. If it gets too warm or the used humid air needs to go out, it exits here. There's also a 120 millimeter fan here with a flexible hose, and it goes out nicely through here. If the weather gets really cold, just in case, I put a space heater here. It doesn't usually turn on. That means if the outside temperature drops below -7 or 8 degrees Celsius, this system can no longer keep the inside temperature above 6 degrees, above +6 degrees. And I decided that if the air temperature in here drops below 6 degrees, that's not really good for the plants, so the little fan turns on. But as I said, 6 degrees only happens when it's -7 or 8 outside, and then it's +6 in here. The system is capable of using the waste heat that can be extracted from the sewage pump station to heat up this little house, and it can maintain a pretty normal temperature all the way down to -7 or 8 degrees. At any rate, it can keep the temperature above freezing. There's something else interesting too. Since the system collects rainwater, I also measure the amount of precipitation. This is measured in millimeters, representing how much rainwater the little house has utilized so far. Basically, that's how I operate it now. I don't know, it's been about 3 years. And over these 3 years, 3,859 millimeters of precipitation has fallen, which is really, really a lot. And this here is a wind speed meter. Right now, the wind is blowing at 0 kilometers per hour. Of course, there's also lighting inside, though not too much. There's a switch right here next to me, which I just pressed, so I set up a light for nighttime. And so the plants don't get bored, there's also a webcam for the plants here, recording the life of the plants. So basically, you can watch a time lapse of the whole year once every year. This electronic system tries to pump out the excess water collected from the roof twice a day. So far, there have been 23 rainy days when it had to intervene to prevent the plants on the roof from basically ending up in a bathtub. This part here is where the rainwater collected from the roof is channeled down and directed into those tanks located under the small house. The rainwater flows into those 100 millimeter PVC pipes. This supports the skywalk here. Unfortunately, I couldn't make the skywalk high enough, so I had to put this foam here so I wouldn't hit my head. It's at about 160 centimeters. Earlier, you saw my skywalk in the pictures, the one I built myself with my own hands. Now, I've come up here to show you in person, so you can see for yourself. This is what it looks like. It's about 4 meters long from one end to the other. We're roughly 6 meters above ground level, which gives us a great view. This here is a peach tree, so we usually pick the delicious ripe peaches from up here when they're in season. And that one over there is a cherry tree, which produces beautiful cherries. So in the end, you can see the roof of the little house, the roof of the greenhouse. That's that grassy part over there. As I mentioned, I planted some plants on it, but lately there hasn't been time to mow the grass or tend to the plants, so it's really been taken over by the jungle here, as you can see. And the entire energy supply for this little house comes from these solar panels. If I remember correctly, that one can provide 80 watts, and those 4 together provide 40 watts. And then, from these, the little house runs entirely on these solar panels. It basically supplies itself with energy. And in that box you see here, there's a converter unit and a small battery. During the day, the energy produced by the solar panels is stored in the battery, so there's power at night as well. This polycarbonate is really good. It's double layered and provides relatively good insulation, and it was easy to assemble. On top of that, there's 15 centimeters of styrofoam, and you can also see the thickness of the wall here. This is the outer OSB board, so this is the exterior panel of the house, and this is the interior one. There's 10 centimeters between the two, and on this side, the insulation is only 10 centimeters thick. It's basically a wooden wall filled with styrofoam. The same goes for the floor. The floor is also filled with 10 centimeters of styrofoam, only the roof has the luxury of 15 centimeters. And this little gadget here is a really clever little device. It's a Sonoff brand device, which is essentially a kind of Wi-Fi enabled unit that can be programmed to function as a timer, for example, or it can also be used to measure temperature. Additionally, it illuminates the plants with a full spectrum LED light. Let me show you exactly how this thing works in practice. So on the lower shelves, you can see here that the upper shelf actually covers them, so not much light gets down here. However, in this area, you can clearly see there's a full spectrum LED installed right here, providing the necessary light for the plants. There's another one over there, and the bottom of every shelf is equipped, let me show you all the way through, with these full spectrum LEDs, and these LEDs are able to light up the plants, so they supplement the missing light. I'll show you. Now I'm turning it on manually with this button. There we go. And here you can see the result. The full spectrum LEDs have turned on, and these full spectrum LEDs have this pinkish rosy color. They give off that same color light over there too. So basically, full spectrum LEDs are lighting up everywhere around here. I'm going to install more of these up on the ceiling. Regular cold or warm light from typical LED lamps doesn't do anything for the plants. They don't really like those, but these full spectrum LEDs are actually pretty good. I've been using them for several years now, and they've really worked well. So basically, starting from February, you can already start growing seedlings here in the little house, which you can then plant out in your garden or in pots. In the winter season, you can even grow lettuce or maybe some tomato peppers, although tomatoes themselves don't really like the cold that much and tend to struggle when temperatures drop. For example, we have some lemon trees, and those can't stay outside. They usually have to be brought in to protect them from the cold. We typically keep them here on this shelf indoors, and that's where the lemon trees spend the winter months. The window here is kind of like a ship's portal, letting in light but keeping out the chill. That's pretty much it for now. So thank you all very much for your attention and for watching. I'm glad you watched my video. Please subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Bye.